So, in case if you are dealing with any image-based automation, then it's very hard to handle in any of the programming languages. So this is where you are going to draw the advantage of RPA. So which means like the actual mimicking of the user, you'll see only in the UI automation. I can say, as per the definition of RPA, mimicking human actions, right? Actually, you'll see in the UI automation because it mimics the human as it is, like how the human is doing the UI interactions. In the similar way, the robot is going to do that, which means the actual mimicking of a human or actual definition of RPA, actual power of RPA will remain with UI automation. And what is the another major advantage of it? See, let us suppose you don't have any direct integration available with any application, any of the application. You can leverage UI automation capabilities. We can achieve the automation. Okay. So let me just tell you my initial experience when I first automated my first process. I simply used type into activities, send hotkeys activities, and the click activities. I used only these three. My means like typing and sending the hotkeys and clicking of the elements, clicking on the page. Only these things I have done. These things completed my complete automation process, my first project. So that is the advantage of UI automation, and we can achieve any type of applications. You can achieve the UI automation, but there is yes. It's happening, yeah. So how UI automation works? So how the UI automation works? See, we can perform all the actions what human can do on an application, and also more what we can do easily on an application. See, as a human, we know that like which element is what and what we need to do and all these things. But how the robot is going to know what actually needs to be done on a particular element, and how the robot is going to identify that element, and how the robot is going to see whether that element is available or not, on what basis it is. As a human will look the application with your eyes, but how the robot is going to do. What will identify the elements on an application or web page with the help of selectors. So here comes the question: what is a selector? Anyone, guys? Anyone, guys? What is selector?
So basically, selector is a kind of locator, which
Mhm.
robot knows about where to click or where to perform actions.
So can we say something much more better word than the locator? Because when you say locator, right, I can say it can be a selector or it can be a geoposition, right?
Identifier, web elements, or
Okay. Mm, okay. So let us take a step back and let us understand what are the components of any application.
Or let's say path, we can say like that. Basically, let's say if we are not able to identify particular element, right, in any application, so in that case basically UI mode, that UI basically automation helps a lot, right?
Mm, no, actually, see the advantage of all the UI automation to be easily achievable is with the help of selectors. Even if the selectors are not available, also we can automate with the help of the RPA technology. But it is not like we cannot say that like it is easy to automate something when we don't find the selectors. If you find the selectors, that is much more easy to automate your process.
Okay.
So let us think of these components. Any application, what it will have is front end, right? And front end is like built on top of which technologies? Rap, I don't know the spelling. Let us write in this. Else we have React or Angular or native. All these things will come under JS. Let us consider under the JS. So if you see these programming languages, right? All these programming languages are tag based programming languages, right? Or we can say scripts are tag based. So whatever the content we have will be in between some tags, right? And the front end is nothing but whatever the screen which is visible to user, right? This we call it as a UI, right? Which means user interface. From where like the user can interact with the application, that we call it as a front end or user interface, right, which is visible to the user and where the user can perform the operations. Correct? And logical operations, right? So the backend is nothing but the combination of your programming language and the database, which will do the logical operations or do all the actions requested from UI. Correct? Agree on this? Yeah. So forget about the server and all these things, because that is like in terms of like deployment and the architecture and all these things. But when you come to the development perspective, the application, any of the application will have the combination of both front end and the back end. This is how the development stage of any application. And now if you see the front end UI, when we say the UI interactions, which means like however the user interacts with the application, in the similar way, the robot wants to interact or required to interact with any of the application. So which means like it will interact with the robot will interact with the application. Interact with the application. So the robot will interact with the application based on the tags, whatever it is having in the front end programming language, which means all these are tag based programming languages, and the robot will identify based on this tag. And okay, and the content, whatever you have in between the tags, you can say content we have in between the tags of the scripting language used for UI development of the application. So the selector is nothing but whatever the HTML or CSS or a code we have on your web page or your application screen, desktop application screen, that we call it as selectors. So for example, let me open my Chrome. If you right click here, there is an option inspect. If you click on this inspect, you will find the HTML code of this. Like you have different tags here, right? The class, the value, or area label, name, role, tab index, type. So we have different properties of this input element, right? For this particular element, we have different properties, right? Here you have the value in the sense like what are the name you have here. So we have different properties for this particular element. So this we call it as selector of this particular element. It is getting highlighted, right? So that we call it as selector of that particular element. So based on these selectors, the robot will identify the elements on the screen. And if you consider, if you want to type something here, so if you select this is where like you will be typing your data, right? So that is what actually the selector is. we got the definition of the selectors, and we will see what are the different types of selectors we have, and what are the different ways to optimize your selectors. And we have the couple of other things as well, which we are going to look into in the later stage. And for now, did you got the clarity of what actually the selector and how the robot is going to identify the elements? Guys, there?
Yes, Parth.
Perfect. Okay. Yes, XPath is also a selector. XPath is also a selector. Even that will also work. I'm pretty sure like you might be coming from Selenium, right, Satish? If I'm not wrong. Yeah. So even XPath will also work. So instead of identifying it directly, you just need to get the XPath and you need to put that into your selector property of the activities. But better when you are directly could able to extract your selector. Why should you go and inspect the values? And you need to right click here, go to inspect, and then you need to right click here, copy XPath. So instead of doing that, why if it is giving you directly? So if I click on the copy selector, this is not the exact selector. Okay, so we'll see. I'll show you that how it is getting extracted in UiPath. Even you can put that XPath as well. Yes, it will also handle the frames. See, I don't want to give a statement that it will handle the frames. See, one note I want to give. UI automation always depends on the target application behavior. So I don't want to say that like it will work all the time, because there will be some applications which may not accept, or which may not where we cannot identify the elements, or see, depends on the application which is developed on top of which technology. So we have some couple of problems there. So your automation will always depends on the target application. So what we will do after, in case in such scenarios, we will look for an better approach for automating. It's a kind of, we can say, trial and error. So it all depends on the target application. If you take the Silverlight applications, for a couple of applications, right, we have an extensions which are available. We can do that, but there will be some legacy applications. If you take the mainframes, right, you cannot identify the selectors. There you need to go with the image-based automation. So we just need to identify those. What is the best optimized way or optimized method we can do this? Okay. So in order to achieve, what are the different ways we have? to achieve UI automation. One is recordings, the other is building the workflow with UI automation activities. So these are the two ways. Why I'm saying recordings and the building the workflows with this, recordings will provide you the skeleton of the workflow to do UI automation. See here, even your whatever you're building, here also you'll be using the same activities. Here it will be automatically get generated. The skeleton will be generated, which means like automatically your uh, workflow will be generated with your UI automation activities. Okay, and here, guys, don't worry. Whatever the theoretical we are discussing, right, the same thing we are going to see in the UiPath Studio as well. Just I want to make sure that like you are clear about what we are going to do in UiPath Studio instead of directly jumping into UiPath. Okay. So if you see the recordings, so we have a couple of different types of recordings. But before we go for the recordings, right, let us take web automation versus desktop automation. It means you have a web application and you have a desktop application. Both applications have different activities and common activities too. Okay? Here, so I can say the statement can be here, different activities and common activities too. In case of classic design, all activities are same. In case of modern design, what is the difference between the classic design and modern design, and why the modern design came in place where we already have the classic design? So because the modern design came with the later version of 2018.4, I guess 18.4 or 20.4, I guess 20.4, sorry. Modern design came along with the 2020.4. So which is going to give you an additional advantages over the classic design. But still the people are using the classic design. And there is a possibility that the migration from the classic to modern may happen in many of the projects going further. So we should be aware of both classic and the modern design concepts as well. Okay. So what does any one of you know like the difference between the, have you ever heard of like modern design or classic design?
Yes, we heard.
Not much. Okay. So let us take the first, let us understand the classic design and the modern design. So we'll get to know like later we'll see the recordings, because the classic and the modern design concepts will vary a lot beyond the expected, and even the recording concepts also will change, and the selected properties will change. Everything is changing. So here The classic design still available along with modern design. Modern design will not be available if modern design is turned off. Okay. So the classic design is still available, but the modern design is enabled. But modern design will not be available if the modern design is turned off. So there is an option for you to turn on and off for the modern design. And the classic design will be available in both the cases. In case if you turn off the modern design, that will not be available under the classic design. Clear, guys? Classic design will work, interact with the applications in different way for web and desktop. And desktop. Modern design consider both web and desktop as similar applications. And the classic design has multiple recording options. Basic recording, web recording, desktop recording, into Citrix recording, mesh recording. So we have different different type of recordings in the classic design. Whereas in the modern design, we have only the recording option. We have the recording app or web recording. We have only one recording here in the modern design, which is app or web recording, because that will consider each and every application as a single application, irrespective of whether which browser you are using, what application you are using. So it will consider in a single way. So that's where like it is giving you easy way of interaction. And here the interactions elements in UI automation is based on selectors. And Satish, I have a question here to you. Can you please just explain us what is page object model? Now,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, with very low pitch.
Now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so basically page object model is the design pattern for the tag elements and there's a method for perform the actions, right? So we keep it separate page category. So that is the basically the page object model. So I mean each and every page you change done in later and we keep on the page.
So Satish, your voice is too low, but thanks. Guys, did you got something or like could you able to hear something what he told?
No, we didn't hear anything. Satish, could you please?
Okay, that is fine. I think it looks like there is some issue with your mic, so that will be okay. Yeah. But Satish, you just try to relate, like, okay. So the model design concept is similar to page object model in Selenium, which means all the elements on top of an application will be considered as objects, and these objects will be used in the UI interaction activities. So all the UI interaction activities, we will be using objects instead of selectors, and each and every element on the page will be considered as an object. And aren't we using the selectors here? Yes, we are using the selectors. Objects will be defined by descriptors, which are nothing but selectors. Okay, which means whatever the elements you have, instead of directly identifying the selectors in the wherever we are utilizing it, we will be first creating the objects, and we will be keeping all the objects at one place, object repository, and then we will be using these objects inside of our UI interaction activities, and these objects will be defined based on the selectors only. Clear? Or okay, perfect. In case any application changes, we need to go to each activity and modify the selector. The classic design. In the modern design, if any application changes, just need to update the objects created under object repository will reflect in all the activities, which means in case if any changes happen to your target application, because see, we are not sure, right? There is a possibility that with there is a possibility that no, I'll come to there as well, like Akash. Just within next 10 minutes, right? I'm going to close this, and then we are going to see each and every point comparison wise. For sure, I'll explain there. Yeah, I thought of like giving you first this knowledge and then to jump into the tool. Both will be there. Let us suppose you use 10 to 15 different activities in different places. Okay, and in case your object changed, you need to go to each and every activity and you need to update your selector, because your activities will work or interact with the objects with the help of selectors, correct? But here we will be doing all these things based on the objects, and all these objects are consolidated under the object repository. So in case if you just update these objects, then it will get reflected in all the other activities. This is how, this is what actually the difference between the classic and the modern design. Got it, guys? So you could able to at least understand the difference, right? Forget about the objects, how it looks and how we are going to do it, but at least the differences, right? Okay, so we have a couple of more things to discuss about these recordings and the selectors as well, and the most important questions of the selectors as well. And we'll break for 5 minutes and then we'll continue from 10:50 on UiPath Studio. Hi all. So let us do one thing. Let us start UiPath Studio. From where we generally do the settings of whether to enforce the modern design or no, not. Under the settings, if we go to the design, here you have use modern for the new projects. So in case if you turn off this, every project, whatever you are going to create your project will be of classic design. And by default, this is got enabled, because there is an advantage with the modern design and there are some disadvantages as well. We'll come there, like how we can identify and even like we can do a couple of other things as well. The advantages and disadvantages also, we will look into that. Maybe I feel that it is a disadvantage because I might not be knowing that how to do it, but we will see, we will figure it out. But there is a lot of advantages. That is the reason for which UiPath is encouraging to use the modern design for all your new projects. Okay, and let us go and start with the modern design project only, and let us create this. Everyone is back, right, guys?
Path is.
In case if I open this, if you see here, right, you got to see this app or web recorder. So we have only one recorder. There is one more thing, computer vision. This we will discuss later stage, because very rare cases you'll be using this, because in case if you are dealing with Citrix applications or the applications where you will not find the proper selectors. So in such scenarios, we will be using the computer vision, because that will load your image and it will try to generate the selectors on top of your image. And for this, you need to externally buy the API key from the UiPath. This is like kind of separate license. Okay. And here you have only one recording. In case if you see only one recording available, then you can consider that it is a modern design concept. And also table extraction. So, oops, let me cancel this. So these are two different things where you can easily identify whether your project is of modern design or a classic design. And here is the object repository. Whatever the UI elements you have, you will be creating the objects under this, and you will be utilizing them in your activities. Okay. This is how the modern design view looks like. And in case you created a project under the modern design and you want to switch your project from the modern design to classic design, in that case, under the project, you'll go to the settings, and here in the general settings, you have the modern design experience, and you can turn it off from here or you can turn on from here. Once you click on turn off, it will ask you to reload the project. If you click on reload, so see here, now you got app or web recorder.
Path, your screen is basically blinking a lot. I don't know why basically it's going here.
Is it for everyone?
For me, it's basically blinking. I don't know about others.
Yeah, I'm just asking the other folks as well. Like, is it for them as well? Oh, let me do one thing. Let me reshare. Is my screen visible to everyone now? Is it still blinking now?
No, it's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
So under the recording, we have basic recording, desktop, web, image, native Citrix, and the computer vision is available in both. And we are not going to have much deeper deep dive into the computer vision. So, so here we have multiple recordings. So for each and every application, whatever we want to do the automations, we have separate records. And if you see here, right, screen scrapping and data scrapping, the things are different again. The table extraction. So I think the version is got upgraded. In the previous version, you will not find these two, but latest is what they added is, even though you are going with the classic, they're allowing you for the app recorder and the table extractor available. And let us try that probably in Monday's session, and we'll see like whether in the classic design this is working or not. And if I come here, see here, it is not allowing you to create your objects because this is a classic design project and it is not accepting. Upgrade your UI automation package and enable modern design experience, which means though these are available, it will not allow you to do the app or web recording, which is a part of modern design concept. So we may need to go with the existing recordings. So these are the different recordings we have in the classic design. And if you come to the activities, click. I'm just taking only click activity. See, if I drag and drop, see, just look at this interface. It is saying that indicate on screen. That's it. And how many activities do I have for the click? we have only one click activity. Forget about the double click, but you have under the mouse, you have only one click activity. And let me do one thing. Let me change the project to modern again. Now this project is modern design project. And if I go to the activities, if I use click activity, if I drag and drop the click activity, this interface looking to be different, right? Here it is saying that either you can indicate on the screen. If you remember, the previous activity is having only indicate on the screen, but here it is saying that indicate on the screen or drag and drop an element from the object repository, which means if we create any objects, we can directly utilize them under this activity. Okay. And now let us see how we can use the classic activities also. So there is a filter here. Here, you just need to check this classic. And now we'll search with click. So we have the click activity, which we dragged and drop. See the icon. You can see the difference of the icons. And if you come here, right, under the classic, we have one more click activity. So this is the classic design activity. You can indicate on the screen, and here you can indicate on the screen, or you can use the object repository objects. But here you have a validation error. You don't have the validation errors here. The reason is whatever the modern design activities, read this out. Target element must be set, and this activity must be inside an use application or a browser activity. So there is one application or a browser, and inside that we need to put this activity, and we need to identify or drag and drop the elements. This is how the modern design and the classic. Here you can use this individually as well, but here you should be keeping that inside your container. Thus we call it as a container. Clear, guys? Could you able to at least understand or at least get the basic idea of the differences between the modern and classic design, how we can switch from classic to the modern?
Means object repository doesn't available for the classic design.
Yes, not available
for the design. Okay.
Yes. In the modern design, you can use both classic and the modern as well.
Yes.
Okay. Let us do one thing. Let us do a recording. Okay. First, let us do a recording. So what I want to do is I want to search something in here. Guys, give me some idea what to search. Use the app.
Currency converter we can use here.
And it is not installed. Enable the extension. So we'll do one thing. Currency converter, or let us take the temperature. We'll search for this and we'll extract this 28. Whatever the number is there, we'll extract it. Okay. So what we will do is we will go for the app recording. If you just click on this, it is collecting the information and it is identified and it is saying and we will be typing click on confirm. See this empty field. In case if you check this checkbox, in case if already some text is available, it will delete the text and it will write the new text. And if we are not checking this, what it will do is it will automatically append the text to the existing text. So we'll go that with this and confirm. And now what we need to do is we need to send a hotkey. Remove this and I'll just go here, and here I'll just select enter and I'll click on confirm, and the enter was done. And now what we will do is we'll just click on this. It's clicking on it, but it is not the click we want to do. We want to get that text. So what we will do is like we'll just save this, and we need to get the text, right? So we will just use get text activity. We can indicate on the screen. Now it is collecting. Click on confirm. And this text will be written. And if you see here, right, everywhere we are identifying the selectors directly, and nowhere we created any objects, correct? Because we are going with the recording. We are because we are using the recording, so it is automatically considering the selectors. This is not yet, we didn't even reach to the objects. It is like kind of selectors only. Let us go back and let me run this. So in the output panel, it is writing 28. And instead of Hyderabad, right, let me write Mumbai. It should be 31. Yes. So this is how we can utilize the recordings. And this is with the modern design, we did the recording. And basically, what I suggest, and even the best practices of UiPath also, is not to use the recording when you are going with the modern design concept. Even in the classic design also, I will not go with the recordings, but there will be a couple of questions, interview questions still available with the recordings. So, and we should be aware of the feature what they have, right? So that's why we are just considering it. Let us come here. There are couple of other recordings we need to look into, and let me turn it off. Reload. There is nothing much difficulty you will find in the modern design, but in the classic design, right, we will see what are the different things we have. So let me go and create here basic recording for web. web application, web recording. So here, what we will do is we'll go with the basic recording, and what we will do is we'll click on this record, and we'll just hit here, and it is asking to what needs to be typed. Temperature in Hyderabad. We'll check this. Enter. We selected the enter, and now hit enter. So what it is doing is it typed that and hit in the enter. And what we'll do is we'll just click on this, escape. Let us go ahead and before that, right, I will just check this text and screen scrapping. We want to get the text, right? So we'll select this. The previous activity generated the click, which is not required, and it is giving you preview, and we'll click on finish. And now we'll just click on save and exit. And here we'll just remove this, which is not required. See, if you see here, right, why we are getting the okay. What we will do is go to this. We'll see this properties later stage. I'll explain you all these properties, but for now I'm just removing it. And see here, what it is doing. It is doing typing into the text, and it is getting the text. Typing and hitting enter, and it will get the text. Let me click on Google, and let me run this workflow. We are not writing anywhere, right? Scrap span word, right? Whatever is there, let us write the same. Let us not take anything new variable. It is an automatic generated variable. And let me go back to the Google. Let us run this flow. Output panel 28 is there. So let us go to the web recording and let us do the same thing, whatever we have done in basic recording, and let us try to understand what actually the difference between the web recording and the basic recording. We'll go to the web recording, record here, temperature in Hyderabad, empty field, and we want enter, and hit on enter. Done. Click on escape. Now we'll go to the text, scrap, screen scrapping, and select this. 28, finish, save and exit. And we will so here we have the same two activities. Okay, and let me see what is the output variable of this. It is getting into auto generated, and let us go to the log message. Let us go to the Google page, run this flow. So if you see here, it is 28, which means the action whatever we are performing is same, but what actually the difference between these two? Can anyone tell?
So basically, we are attaching the browser in the web recording, right?
We are not doing it. It is automatically attaching the attached browser, and in the basic recording, you are not having anything, right? Correct? Hello, guys? Hello? Guys, you're there?
Yes, Parth. Yeah.
So here, if you see, right, this attached browser activity is coming, and here you're not getting anything, which means if we go to the recordings, basic recording will not have any containers. Web recording will have attached browser container. Okay, and let us do one comparison. Let us take the selector of this. If you expand your target, here you will find the selector. Cancel. And then the web recording type into, we will take the selector. Control C. I'm just hitting only Control A and Control C. So what is the difference between these two? When we did the same thing, Control A and Control C, copied from the basic and the web recording also. So what is the difference? If you see here, this and this are same, correct? But we don't have this. Where was this gone? Here in the attached browser, here it is. So if I can say Control A, Control C, and come back, and I can put this here. Which means whatever is there, the application, the chrome.exe and the title Google, which is nothing but, if I come back here, this one, right? The complete application level selector and the element level selector. If you see in the basic recording, you have the element selector. This is element selector, right? And this is window selector. The basic recording, you have both under the activity. When you go with the window recording, web recording, you are having the attached browser, and the browser selector is different and the element selector is different, right? A browser selector you have one time at the browser level, attached browser level, and even in this activity, you see, right, you will find only the element selector because the browser is there already. Whereas in this basic recording, again here you will be having the browser selector and the element selector as well. Which means here you have the selector for the element and the window. But here the element selector will go with attached window, attached browser, which means container, right? Container of multiple elements. And here element selector, element which is a child under the container. So whatever we have along with the window selector, this we call it as full selector. This is partial selector. Got it? So when you have the element window level selector also, that we along with the element we call it as full selector. And when you have only the element selector and your window selector was taken care by your attached browser, which is your container, that we call it as a partial selector, because you will be having only the element level selector inside of your activities, whereas your window was went with the container, which means this is half selector, we can say more specific to the element selector, that we call it as a partial selector. And if you have the window level selector, that we call it as a full selector. And the basic recording is going to generate your full selectors, whereas the web recording and the desktop recording is going to provide you the partial selectors, generate you the partial selectors. So based on this, can we write basic recording generates full selectors, web or desktop recording generates partial selectors? Full recording, so full selectors selector having the window level selector along with the element is called full selector, partial selectors. Selector having specific to element selector and window selector is taken care by window selector is taken care by attach window or attach browser activities attach browser activities by attach browser or attach is called partial selector. So are you clear about this partial, full and partial selectors? So we have a lot of more things to discuss on the selectors, and this is much more important question. We need to be, this will be frequently asked every time, and we have more in depth needs to be looked into the selectors, and we are going to see that as well. And this is like so this session is to give you a clear understanding of the difference between the classic and the modern design, and the basic idea of the selectors, and some knowledge of the recordings. So if you are clear about all these things, then we will deep dive into more what we can say kind of like checking of each and every activity, and each and every activity have different properties when it comes to the UI automation, and everything is much more important to us, and we will deep dive more into the selectors as well. And for sure guys, the only UI automation will go for at least 4 more days, 3 to 4 more days for sure. and the other automations, right, like Excel or a database, everything can be winded up in a single day. But the UI automation is having a lot of scope and a lot of questions are there, and you will get the tasks even on the UI based only when you go for an interview. If you are really clear about all these things, then I'm more happy. And if you have any question, if you could not able to understand something, then I'll just change my example or like change my way of explanation, but let me know.
Basically, how many selector we have in UiPath? We have 2 full selector, partial selector, and anything.
We will come across fuzzy selector.
Okay.
And we will see the relative positions, different positions on selectors, and we have wildcards to tune the selectors. We have inserting it using variables inside the selectors. I'm just giving the concept, but we have the full selectors, partial selectors, and here it's not relative position. It is completely different concept. Fuzzy selector and strict selector. So when I say fuzzy selector and full strict selector, this is a separate categorization, and this is separate categorization. Full selectors and the partial selectors are a different categorization under your classic design, and the fuzzy selector and strict selector is a categorization in your modern design. Okay. And also we have not only this, we have how to fine tune selectors using UI Explorer, because UI Explorer is a part of this UI automation. So with the help of UI Explorer, we are going to fine tune the selectors as well. So if you guys are clear about all this, then if you doesn't have any questions, we will wind up the session and we'll upload the video, and I'll share this document. Probably this document I'll share you in the evening. Probably in the second half, I'll share the video and the document as well. Okay, guys? Perfect. And if you guys don't have any questions, we will wind up the session.
Tomorrow we don't have any session, right, Parth?